Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Blessed Are the Geek podcast. This podcast is meant to highlight different hobbies, nerd fandoms, interests, maybe even people's jobs, to discover more about them and why people love them so much. In our first episode, I sit down with one of my good friends, Adam Butterick, and we kind of toss around different ideas of what to talk about before finally deciding on The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. As always, this podcast will be a spoiler-heavy podcast. So if you have not played Breath of the Wild yet, or you don't want it spoiled for you, maybe come back a little bit later. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at BlessedGeekCast. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, hey, so this is Blessed Are the Geek podcast. This is the first episode that you're listening to, and the whole point of this, a little intro, the whole point of this podcast is to bring on random people that just have different hobbies, different interests, and just talk about different things and what they are into. So, this first week, I've got, one of my best friends here. His name is Adam.
Hey, everybody. My name's Adam. I just introduced myself. Yeah, this is me.
Right. So we got Adam here. So you don't even know what you want to really...
No, I mean, this is like first episode, and I literally just asked Chris about 10 seconds ago, what are we doing?
Right. Well, so I know you're into photography. I know you do graphic design a lot.
Yeah.
But you also like Nintendo and Zelda. And I mean, you also played the Tomb Raider recently, so you have Xbox and PS4 too.
Yeah. Pretty much anything... I tell people...
And Lord of the Rings. You're into Lord of the Rings, too.
Yeah, we're sitting in my Lord of the Rings room, actually, right now.
Yeah.
But I tell people, like, if it plugs into the wall, I'm usually pretty interested in it. So video games, cameras, any kind of technology at all. I've actually really, not a lot of people know this, but I'm like a self-professed amateur astronomer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, I have a lot of knowledge in that. When I moved to D.C. to get a job... right out of college. Of course, you're like really broke at the time. You just got out of college.
Sure.
And this is your first job. You got like an apartment, and you're like in DC.
You know how to cook ramen noodles like 12 different ways.
Right, yeah. So like you're really broke. I mean, if you've got like $12 the day before payday, you're like, hey, I did all right.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would just jump on YouTube for just like entertainment's sake and watch tons of documentaries about the universe, solar system, physics,
sure,
theories, anything like that. And it was like, I just like really got into it a lot. Started like going out, once I exhausted YouTube, I would go out and buy documentaries.
So you doing that now?
I still do that now. Yeah, I mean, I have Honey Boo Boo now, so
right.
I've got no reason to educate myself anymore. But,
right, mission accomplished.
Yeah, but no, I do watch that kind of stuff. I read about that kind of stuff. But, of course, Zelda happened. So, like,
oh Lord,
my entire month
everything
has just everything stopped. Right. So I'm like looking at my backlog of games. I'm looking at like drawings I want to do, tutorials for that I want to do.
Oh, I forgot you're into drawing too.
Yeah. I'm no good at it. I love it, but
right.
like it's just one of those things where it's like,
look, man, I screw up a smiley face.
Dude, you got it. Like it's one of those things like. Anyone can draw.
Yes.
But some people just take longer to learn than others.
Sure.
It's not impossible, though. I mean, everyone's got the talent because as you're drawing, when you do it, anything you do over and over and over again, you're literally building bridges between neural networks to, like, learn that better. And it just really, really enhances everything. I mean, it's like, do you think Michael Phelps is just good or does he practice? He practices.
Well, he's got those
every
web
day.
feet.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, anyone who, like, has a given talent also needs to practice and nurture it. So, I have the initial interest in drawing. I have the little bit of the talent already, but the practicing part is just a time-consuming thing.
Yeah.
So
what topic do you want to just blab about
I've listened to so much stuff about Zelda.
Let's do it. If you're listening to this and you have not played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, up front, this is going to be very spoilery.
Oh, yeah. It's been out a month. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, but if you haven't gotten a hold of it, cut it off.
Like,
yeah.
12 people have a Switch. So.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
But, it is on Wii U for those people who haven't been able to do that. But, yeah, so if you
can get a Wii U for like $40
at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, pull a tooth out. Yeah. Like, hey, can I trade in?
Yeah.
Of course, GameStop's like, no.
No, still $250.
Right. I got this brand new copy of...
Is the Wii U still retail from Nintendo $299 along with the Switch? Or
Nintendo's not selling it anymore.
So they just quit selling
Discontinued.
It? Okay.
Entirely.
I didn't know if they like... I mean, I know they got refurbs for like $200.
Is that what all it is? I thought it was like $189.
Whatever it was. I mean, it's pretty cheap considering...
I had somebody ask me to hack his Wii U yesterday.
Can you do that?
HBC on it, Homebrew channel. You can do it. And apparently they've been doing it since about March last year.
Yeah.
But I even just pulled up like the
and we do not promote piracy.
No, of course not. No,
yeah.
Of course not. That's awful. You should pay the people who do your stuff, especially when you've paid for Mario Brothers 4 times. Pay for it a 5th time when you get it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So
$1.50 to upgrade it.
Right.
It's the same game. Yeah.
So anyway, I put HBC on his Wii U, and get this, because if you're familiar with HBC on the Wii, you could Commodore 64, TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis, anything, right? Now N64 wasn't all that great because it had like a select list of games that kind of worked, and that's it. But so I looked up HBC on Wii U. You can basically remove the region locking from the system. Okay. You can play Flappy Bird.
Been dying to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Snake. Just in case your Nokia isn't working anymore.
Yeah. My TI-83. I don't know where it is.
And that's it.
So why would you ever want to do this?
Okay, so they are, air quotes, working on some emulators.
Oh, okay.
Apparently they have a NES and a GB Game Boy emulator, none of which have sound on their games.
Well,
mildly important.
Yeah.
So, anyway. But so, Breath of the Wild, how many hours have you logged?
Oh, gosh. Last time I looked a week ago was like 75 plus, so I'm probably in the 100.
Right,
over 100 now. And I have no idea what my percentage is. I can actually look really quick.
He's actually playing it right now.
Yeah.
Had it pulled up. He's talking to a Gerudo out in the desert.
Yeah.
Which I have to say has a really interesting sounding language. When they talk?
Yeah.
Savak,
Yeah. They gave it where is the
put on the map? It's down the left hand corner of the map. Oh, you know what? So we were playing the other day. We were playing on my console 2 days ago, and we looked at the map, and the percentage came up. My guess is because I've beat Ganon.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
See, I just don't want to do it yet.
Yeah, and
I have no reason not to try.
Right.
But I just
what I thought
the style of the game I know was meant to go to Ganon at any point.
Right.
But I just feel like I want to just be done with the game. Beat Ganon and then just keep playing it.
Well,
because when you beat him, you just save right back to before you beat him.
You go right back to
so
where you beat him.
What's the point right now of rushing over there?
Now I will say that I actually found a shortcut to get to Ganon. So I guess there's a way to go up some paths or whatever, but when you step into Hyrule Castle, there's lasers on you everywhere when you walk in. So
it's bad news.
Right. So I went to Zelda's observatory, climbed to the top, somehow didn't get seen by that patrolling helicopter thing. And then if you look over, there's a giant cliff, but it's all covered in what they call malice.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, there's a small gap with it's not.
Bloody booger.
Right.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a bathtub draining.
Yeah.
Have you walked up to it?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought if I paraglide over to the cliff, I'm not sure if I can climb up.
Yeah.
As far as I need to, but I was like, screw it, I'll try it. So I paraglide over and then start jumping up. Made it to the top, no problem. And then apparently I'm standing right next to the chamber that Ganon is in.
Yeah.
So I walked up and it was like cutscene.
Yeah. That's kind of how because I walked Because he's in what, the Sanctum? Is that what something's
yeah.
called?
Inner
like,
Sanctum or something
yeah.
like that.
So I walked up and it's like Sanctum, and I'm like, okay, this is where I fight Ganon. And I was like 4 or 5 steps from triggering a cutscene, and I was like, no, not yet.
Right.
I mean, I had the Master Sword, I had
you were
the shield,
probably really close.
had a ton of arrows, and like I forget how many hearts I've got.
You probably need ancient arrows.
Well, I got a ton of arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of ancient, and I've been guardian hunting, dude. I mean,
Sure.
I've been like, it's fun.
Speaking of arrows,
Instead of terrified now, I'm like, look forward to seeing them.
right.
You know?
What?
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I wish so. You know how you can do like everything in this game.
Right.
The one thing that you can't do that I kind of wish you could is craft your own arrows.
Yeah.
Like if you could maybe take some arrows and throw them into a fire and like fire arrows.
Yeah.
Or if you could
yeah.
set some arrows on the ground and somehow let lightning hit them and boom, shock arrows. That would be cool.
That would be cool. Or like throw them on the ground in a snowy area that's like freezing, and you got frozen arrows.
There you go. Then again, I haven't tried any of these things, so.
Yeah, that's the thing with this game. It's like you try something and you're like, this isn't. Oh, look, it does work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like bridging the electric paths and stuff. I've got these 4 like rusty swords. What the hell I want them for?
The whole giant thing
look.
is one big piece of metal.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, look, this isn't gonna. Oh, it does.
Oh yeah.
And I told you a long time ago. Forget what shrine it's in, but you basically, when you get to the part where you walk up and get your orb, the monk part, there's a small fence, but there's a gap at the top. And to get something behind you, you had to like trigger this crystal a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can see the crystal, but like I didn't do whatever it was earlier to like make this door behind me open to get a chest.
Well, you're talking about the chest. So like you're standing at the altar of the
right,
whatever Sheikah dude.
Yeah.
And like so behind you to your top right, almost.
There's a chest
There's a chest up there.
Right.
It's the one filled with water.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, to get it to like drain or whatever I had to do, I just like pulled out whatever junky sword.
Oh, I don't need this triangle
And I was
sword.
like, I'll see what happens, and I just lobbed it over the the fence,
You got a lucky chuck.
and it was like ching. Oh, cool, that did work.
Right.
So that's what I love about the game is like, I'll beat a boss or beat something, and then go look up other
How
people
other
fight
people
it
did
because
it.
it's always different.
Now, see, how I did that challenge, that shrine, was once I figured out what I was supposed to do, which you have to, like, walk around the shrine for a
Do
second.
the
and kinda,
cryosis
like,
thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that.
So, I hit the thing with the... First, I went over to the switch and dropped a bomb.
Yeah.
Dropped a bomb next to the switch. And, then I went back over and then hit it with an arrow and went over and finished everything. Then when I'm standing in front of that altar, I was like, bomb, triggered,
Yeah,
and then I did it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just trigger the bomb.
Right.
See, like, would never even... That would... It's like, I'll put this here and just not detonate it until I need to.
Which I was trying to tell you about a different shrine the other day, where there's one, so there's a bunch of pillars that don't move. And then there's a bunch of pillars in between those pillars that do move up and down when you hit a switch in the middle of the room. Mm-hmm. And then across the room is like another fence between the switch and more stairs, right?
Yeah.
So you can't hit the switch from those stairs.
Yeah.
But you have to go up those stairs to get to the altar to get the orb or whatever. So what I don't even know if this is how I was supposed to solve it or not, but what I ended up doing was I ended up taking out a round bomb and a square bomb on either side.
Right.
Adam's gonna answer the phone.
No, I'm not.
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
not? Oh.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, I put a bomb on either side because I didn't know before that point that you could have one of each bomb out at a time.
At the time, yeah.
Right. So I put a round bomb on one side and a square bomb on the other side. Got as far as I could, hitting the switch or whatever, and glided over to the stairs. Got as far as I could there. Set off the first bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Then set off the second bomb, and then I'm up.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
again, I don't know if that's how you're supposed to solve it or not, but I couldn't figure out any other way.
I don't think anything on here was designed for a way that you're...
Single use.
I guess when they were designing it, they obviously probably designed it as a preferred way.
Right.
To... This is kind of what we're thinking you should do, but
Right.
nothing that I've seen is like, you have to do it anyway.
So, this is, again, for people who may not have played this yet, this is the first like real open world Zelda game.
Right.
And to think back, the previous game that came out to this was like the previous console new Zelda game that came out before this was Skyward Sword. Almost, if not a decade or more than a decade ago. I thought it was like 2006 or...
Yeah, 2006?
No.
No, that was Twilight.
Yeah,
that came out with the Wii launch.
So I'd say like maybe 2010, maybe?
Yeah, something around there.
So...
It's towards the end of the Wii.
Right. But that's when Skyward Sword came out. And Skyward Sword is controversial for Zelda players because you got half the party that loves it and it's amazing.
Right.
And the other half is like, this is awful because of controls.
The hand-holding, the tutorials.
Oh, you walk into a room and your guardian or the companion Fee is like, hey, there's like a 78% chance you're supposed to pick up this item and put it right here to solve this puzzle. And it's like, maybe let me figure that out first.
It really... I was about 3 or 4 hours, I'm talking very early into that game, I was like, I'm only going to finish this because it's Zelda.
Did you finish it?
I did.
Yeah.
And it was painful. It was painful.
I personally thought it was.
I mean, it was just...
Now look, controls and gameplay aside,
yeah.
The appearance, the soundtrack, and the story of that game, bar none,
Pretty
the
good.
best.
Yep.
Probably the best.
Yep.
I think. So
I wish the only gripe I had was that you have to fight
the imprisoned
3 times. 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like... And it's called The Imprisoned. You would think it looked like way... Again, this might be a spoiler, but I mean the game's been out forever.
Right.
It looks like a ball of licorice with giant toes. I mean, it was so stupid looking. I mean, make it look kind of like the Grim Reaper or something more sinister. But this thing just looked so ridiculous.
It didn't look threatening or maleficent.
It looked silly.
In any way. Yeah.
It looked silly. Yeah.
So NVC, Nintendo Voice Chat podcast, is from IGN, and they have a really good podcast every week just about Nintendo.
They really do.
And they came out with a good question. I don't know if it was their question. It was Jose Otero posted this question 2 weeks ago, and they talked about it last week. And the question is after Breath of the Wild and being so open, and instead of, literally the complete opposite of Skyward Sword, which was like, you are in a hallway the entire game, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
On rails.
Right.
Yeah.
Being the complete opposite, do you think we could go back to the former Zelda formula, which is 3 dungeons, and then something happens, and then like 8 dungeons, and then a boss. But those dungeons are thematic.
Yeah.
They use a specific item. You obtain a certain item in that dungeon, and then you use that item until you're sick of it, and then you beat the boss with that item every time.
Right.
Do you think we could go back? Do you see a problem with going back to that formula? Because I have an answer. I've thought about this.
I've thought about it a little bit too, and because I listen to that same podcast a lot, and we had kind of discussed this a little bit earlier in the week, but I kind of kept thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I am fine with a dungeon.
Right.
And even in Breath of the Wild, you have parts that feel like a dungeon.
Right.
Like, spoiler, but when you go get the Hylian shield, I'm not going to say anything because I know you haven't gotten it yet.
Jerk. Yeah.
It does feel sort of like it is a dungeon. It's under the castle. It's a dungeon.
Okay.
By the definition of a dungeon, it's a dungeon.
Right.
But the traditional Zelda dungeons, I like the fact that in Breath of the Wild they give you every single thing that you need. You can take that.
You really don't need to pick. You don't need to pick up a bow and arrow. You don't need to pick up a sword.
They don't give a crap
if you. Sword would help.
They don't give a crap if you use a boomerang at all.
Right.
I like all that. I like all that a lot. Certain tools, maybe like very powerful weapons. Maybe like a reward for... I like the optional part of it. Mm-hmm. Saying, okay, well, there's this dungeon, and this doesn't really have anything to do with the story, but these villagers are like really terrorized by this like cave nearby, and every now and then this like creature pops out.
Right.
And several men have tried to go and kill this thing, and they've all died in the attempt. So that being something you could decide to go on and go, okay, I know I don't have to do this, but I have no idea what I'm going to get. And you get in there, and as you're picking through the bodies, you randomly come across a hook shot,
Right.
or something.
That would be cool.
That's like, you don't need it,
right?
But say,
and we were talking about this hook shot the other day about how like you could still apply limitations on it, right? So like you
it only hooks into trees, or
into
something.
trees or like soft earth,
instead
of like cliff faces.
And it's more of a reward to help you move through more easily. So instead of like climbing up that cliff, or say you see a cliff and you go, okay, I'd like to get to that, but I know that my stamina isn't where it needs to be right now. I could glide as far as I could, and then if I'm close enough, I could maybe hook shot into a tree at the top of that cliff.
Yeah, that would be cool. And you can like slow time down, like you're gonna slow time down
and do it right, and then that way, you can get to that by either going and getting a hook shot, or upgrading your stamina, or climbing and stopping and climbing. Nothing's off limit. I don't want anything to be off limits based on like something you got to go do.
Now, when you're saying that, I instantly thought of something that they could have done as a throwback, which I think would have done really well in this game. It's as far as like it would have been hookshot-esque. Okay, so this game, what are they focusing on a lot? Climbing.
Yeah.
You can climb a lot because you've never been able to really climb
or jump.
Right, or jump.
This just in, Link can jump.
In Wind Waker, you had that grapple hook. Now, what if you could like
the little Indiana Jones thing? It wasn't necessarily a hook shot, but it was more of like
it acted like a hook shot in a way. Like in the previous games, if you hook shot at an enemy, you usually got an item from them, whether it be rupees or bombs or something like that. Which it did that with the grapple hook in Wind Waker, but in Breath of the Wild, if you're climbing up a cliff face, it'd be kind of awesome if you were to like, on the top of the mountain, and then you could like climb up the rope instead.
And like rappel up.
Right, and maybe use a little bit less stamina if you did that. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, like stuff like that is what I think this game does really well, and I think that going forward, they've messed around with talking about DLC, and I have no idea. Nobody does what the DLC is going to be.
Did you buy the DLC from the shop or from Amazon?
I haven't bought it at all yet.
Oh, I bought it on Amazon, but I don't have a code yet. I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
I'm confused.
Well, I haven't bought it at all yet because I was like, cool, a shirt and some like chest. Like I got Amiibo, I can get chest. But
more Hyrule herb.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll wait on that. But to me, they can go one of two ways with it, and I'd probably be fine with it. I love this world so much that I, for lack of a better term, don't want to waste it on a single game.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, I'm fine with like a DLC that opens, more map, or allows you maybe to transport with your Sheikah Slate to another island or something. Like they could do anything they wanted to. But as far as like a Breath of the Wild 2, not that they would call it that, but that just seems a little redundant to me at this point. Like it's like, what do you really do? I mean, it is hard. Like, what do you do after this?
Yeah, and that's something that I've kind of been wondering myself this last week since, because I beat Ganon last week. I just, on a whim, I was like, screw it, let's go figure it out. And ever since then, since I beat Ganon, I've been like, okay, well, I did that.
Right.
And now I'm like, okay, well, I can do side quests and stuff. And I think beating Ganon, for me at least, took a little bit of joy out of it.
Yeah, that's why I have not went in there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I hate because, like, it was an okay boss fight. Like, it was as far as final bosses go, like, it wasn't Ocarina of Time.
Right.
I still remember being a kid and being, like, wowed by that final, Ganondorf to Ganon battle. You know?
Where he transforms and all.
Right. And this one didn't wow me as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I'm playing it, I'm like kind of wandering around, and I'm like, okay, well, guess I'll go build my house.
Right.
Guess I'll go do this.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Side quests are okay and everything. Like, I just collected 100 crickets today because apparently I need those.
I like the fact that, I mean, obviously, if anyone's ever played Assassin's Creed, you climb towers to unlock the map.
Right.
You climb towers in this to unlock the map. But the difference is, when you unlock the map in Assassin's Creed, it just like throws up icons
everywhere.
You're like inundated with like things to do. Where in this, you discover every little thing on your own, and I like that so much more.
Right.
Like I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm being forced to go to the bigger star instead of the smaller star because
Right.
it's more of a quest than the smaller one, or anything like that. I feel like you actually are part of the world when you're playing it,
Right.
versus, okay, I need to like assassinate these people, and there's
Man,
this does not have that many fetch quests to me. They're all very unique.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of games can learn a lot from that.
Yeah. I played 3 hours of the first Assassin, 3 hours, and I got bored.
It's awful.
It's awful. I played all of
the other ones are a lot better than that, but the first one was a huge letdown.
Yeah, I played all the way through the second one.
Yeah.
And at being done, I was like, all right, I did that.
Right.
Okay. So what do you think, now that you brought in other open world games, what from Breath of the Wild would you want to see incorporated into other open world games like Tomb Raider, like Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
Like maybe the next Elder Scrolls game, if and when that ever happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of what I see that is the huge difference, and I think about this a lot just because I'm bored a lot, but in Breath of the Wild, you've got a character that he climbs, he pulls a bow out, you see him. It's third person.
Sure.
And to be fair, you can third person Elder Scrolls and stuff, but when you're walking over rocks, he walks the same as if you're walking in the water shoreline.
Sure.
Or walking.
I mean, to be fair,
you don't really climb.
Sure, but
it's an old game.
It's, what is it, like 7?
But it's the same way with Fallout 4.
It's not 7 years old.
It's a newer game.
It's like 5, 6 years old.
I don't know.
Still, it's
an older engine.
But at the time,
yeah, and they're still using that engine, that kind of thing. But I separate this game out from just calling it open world. It's like an open world / sandbox / hey, there's this thing. I mean, literally, when you start the game, 10 minutes into it, your quest is destroy Ganon.
Right.
However you want to do it.
Right.
If you want to do it now, knock yourself out.
Good luck, asshole.
Good luck. People have done it, but and I think that the game, I heard it on a podcast, I don't know which one said it. If I did know, I'd give them credit for it. But this game is all about building your confidence to go fight.
That may have been Nintendo Dads that said that.
Because
I remember
you start off and you're texting your friends, you're calling them. Every discussion you have is like, "How many times have you died?"
Right.
Dude, I never die anymore.
Dude, that first 2-3 hours of the game.
Oh, it's rough.
It's awful, dude.
Yeah, it's so rough because you're like, man, I die all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, some water, freeze to death. That kind of thing. Like,
what's this? Oh, it's quicksand. Oops.
Right. Yeah, I'm dead now. I fell off this thing and I'm ragdoll mode down this,
Oh, the weakest enemy hit me twice.
Yeah, so the game really is, and it doesn't have all the tropes that normal games have. You don't level up, you don't distribute,
There's not a tree for
there's not
skills.
a skill tree. That to me is where like the Far Cry series goes just nuts, and it honestly is a turnoff for me because you have so many skill
Options.
points. And you're like, I have no idea what's about to happen.
Right.
I don't know what to do with these skill
What does the
points.
end game look like? What do I need at that
Right.
point? Like,
So
do you remember playing Child of Light?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember kind of the nuances of that game, but that going into that reminded me of Child of Light about how unless you played like countless hours playing that, you would not. No, I don't think there was even a possibility because I think your character's capped at a certain point, and at that point you could not build your skill tree anymore. So you could only build skill trees to a certain extent.
Right. Yeah, that one had a lot of skill tree stuff.
Yeah, I did, and every character had like different things about it, and
used to, whenever people say, "What kind of game do you like?" I'd say, "I want something where I can feel progression."
Right.
And
what was that for you?
That used to be a skill tree or getting a pistol and upgrading it to like shoot faster or hold more bullets or
Fallout.
whatever. Fallout or Last of Us. You
Sure.
know, that's a great game, by the way.
Yeah.
Very linear, but it's still an amazing story. But
I mean, a game can be linear and still be good.
yeah, still be good. So I just didn't want people to think I was like
Right. Sure.
thinking that was open world, because it's definitely not. But and I think that this game alone has totally changed what appeals to me as far as the word when I say progression, because this progression is okay. Armor, it could be weapons, it could be a shield, it could be the fact that
I'm gonna go take out all of these types of enemies
yeah,
that are
the
around.
fact that like I'm gonna go guardian hunting for 2 hours, or like I've been scared to death of the Lionels all
Right.
game, and then finally just beat one, and now I'm like, wow, this feels really good, and I've got like more stuff to cook with,
Right.
or like a cool bow. Dude, their bows are awesome.
Yeah.
But like, I think that the sense of progression in this game is far more. It's less tangible than
Yeah.
in another game. It's not you're not
Which for you
adding
is a
up.
good thing.
To me, it's a good thing because it's the only time that that's really felt right. And I think that they were sitting around deciding, do we have Link level up? And they were like, no, let's just have him find armor, and that be a way of leveling up. That way, he's still like a human.
Which again goes back to
Right.
Fallout, but take out your level up.
Right, because a lot of times in a lot of games, especially RPGs, you find this.
Or Skyrim.
Yeah,
More
you
likely.
find this helm, and it's like, oh, this helm is great. Oh, you got to be level 18 to wear it.
Oh, sure.
And it makes it feel more of like a.
Well, then you got to hold on to it, and you're taking up
Right.
slots in your inventory.
Right,
But
and-
you're only level 16. so
yeah,
you
and
have
then
2
by
more
the time
levels.
you do get that level
You found
18,
something else.
you found something better, and you could have just sold it. I feel like that kind of system now, to me, kind of ties you down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
To where it's like, why couldn't a person who just woke up from cryogenic sleep go put a helm on
And
What's
just
the-
like run some
what-
train.
Why can't why can't he? Why do I have to be a certain level to put a shirt on?
Right, like why is
It
why
doesn't
is
make
that
any
a,
sense
Why is that
anymore.
a limitation?
It doesn't make any sense anymore. I think this
Right.
whole game was about not limiting.
They sure did break a lot of
anything.
rules.
Yeah. They rewrote a lot too. Like, you don't need this complicated skill tree to feel like your skills have improved.
Or even, we don't need to tell you,
anything.
right, this is how you beat this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, there might be a key under that rock.
Yeah.
Like,
They don't tell you anything.
right, which I appreciate.
I do too, because Nintendo has gotten very handholdy in the last few
Even
console
still.
generations, and
Even still they are,
yeah,
like,
this game they're just not. This to me is like them going, okay, forget everything you knew about Nintendo,
right.
forget everything you knew about Zelda, but also forget everything you knew about Nintendo. Too.
Well, and there's a difference between hand-holding and explaining things that need to be explained.
right,
Okay, so this game, NVC brought this up recently. It's you get a tutorial in the beginning of the game,
Right.
without saying anything.
right,
Here's the Sheikah Slate. Mm-hmm. What is this? Oh, it's an important tool. Hang on to it.
right,
Okay. Well, here's 2 chests. Cool.
yep,
Free stuff. Let's see what's in here.
yeah,
And so you're like, okay, I'll put these clothes on,
mm-hmm.
and then instantly there's a rock blocking your way. So
Right.
you have to climb or jump.
Right.
Either one of those, and that's all you get as far as like explanation of how
Right.
to do things. Really, I mean, there's the mini tutorials of cryosis and stasis and magnesis and that kind of thing.
Right,
that you
right,
know, like
right.
how those work or whatever. But
they do those in a good way too, though.
Right,
as a
sure.
puzzle that
Right.
has a reward at the end.
that doesn't feel hand-holdy.
Right,
Now,
right.
in contrast, right before this came out, I played Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that game did not explain enough.
Oh yeah, you
But-
felt like too lost. Or
Right,
something.
because like once I got through all of like the tutorial stuff, on the map was a bunch of icons. I didn't know what these icons meant. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
what does that mean? But it was a JRPG, and those are typically
yeah.
a little bit too. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
right. So is this safe to say this is your favorite Zelda now? Because I know your favorite is A Link to the Past.
Link to the Past is always going to have like a certain place in my heart.
It's
I
a
think.
soft spot.
Yeah, it's a soft spot. But that aside, I'm not going to let nostalgia cloud my judgment. I'm going
Right.
to say, yeah, this is definitely my favorite. Not to be, whenever that new song comes out, this is my favorite song. Not to
Right.
be like that, but just because of what it does. And going back to what you said about whenever you get the tutorial that's not really a tutorial, that's something that like Nintendo does really well, even from the very first Mario Brothers. Because
yeah.
you start out and there's a coin block, and you go, "What's this?" Pating. Okay, so I hit that and a coin comes out. Got it.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I'm this Goomba. What happens there? Okay, I hit him on the head and he's dead. Okay, so then I progress forward. Oh, cool, another coin block. I hit that and there's a mushroom. But you can't run back because back then, if you went too far, you couldn't side scroll to the left in that game at all. So you were trapped. And that is a mechanic that they wanted you to go, because if you see this mushroom, you go, oh, that might hurt me.
Right.
I don't want to touch that. But they make you touch it.
Right.
To show you that, like, this is what you need to be doing. And then later on, you know, the blocks that you can bust since you're big start popping up. And later on, you get the fire flower. And you're kind of like, that whole first level on Mario is a tutorial.
Right. That might be, like, one of the best tutorials ever.
And I learned that mainly when Mario Maker came out, and I was reading how to make a good level and learned that part of it. And I think that Breath of the Wild kind of has a lot of that thought behind it. Like, you have to climb out of the... And I watched a friend of mine do that. Michael, the other day, was playing it. He got to the wall, and he's like... He is probably one of the only people that, when he started playing Zelda, literally had not watched a single thing about it.
Yeah.
He just knew it was a good game, and I told him he needed to buy it. So he gets to the wall, and it being Zelda, goes, well, no, I can't, like, climb this wall, so, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So he turns around, he's, like, driving himself crazy, trying to figure out how to get out of this. Then he walks up to the wall, and a little icon shows climb. He's like, what?
Yeah.
You can climb? So then from that point on, I mean, that taught him everything he needed to know without Fee popping up or this, you know, character that's only there for a tutorial's sake, you know. So, but yeah, it's definitely it's my favorite Zelda. It might be my favorite game at this point.
Yeah,
it's on up there if it's not, and I'm sure a lot of people say that,
right?
Because it made me feel the way that I felt when I first played Link to the Past. Mm-hmm. Which is a hard thing to do.
Right. And
when I first played Mario 64. And that's a hard thing to do.
Because this does share a lot in common with Link to the Past.
Yeah.
More in common, I think, with the original Zelda.
More in common with the original Zelda. And to me, this was... Because Mario was always side-scroll, side-scroll, side-scroll. New items, new this, but it was pretty much the same formula. Now they're back to it, but this game was Zelda's Mario 64 moment to me.
Right.
It broke all the tradition. It said, let's do away with the traditional. I mean, they took a game that was extremely linear and made it open world. Same way that they took a game that was extremely linear side-scrolling and made it, for 1996, that was a pretty open world game. World. Yeah, I mean, you could jump from painting to painting. You could solve these stars if you wanted to. You could go to a different painting. As long as you had enough stars to unlock that next painting, it was yours to go nuts in. So I think that kind of compare to me a little bit.
Tutorial stuff, the shrines. So in this game, I kind of feel like I feel a loss for the traditional Zelda dungeons, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I really like. I mean, they're tropey at this point. They really are. You know, like. Every game's got a fire temple. Mm-hmm. Every game's got one that's underwater somehow. You know, like, everyone has a trope to an extent. But at the same time, now that that's pulled away and there isn't that, it's kind of like... It's kind of like, you know, when your girlfriend leaves you for the weekend.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well...
What do I do now?
Yeah, like, okay, well, it's nice to be alone and have some time alone, but I still miss my bae, you know?
Yeah, I heard somebody bring it up. I think it was Brian Altano. He said, because they were talking about the dungeons and I think they had mentioned on IGN's NBC that, like, they could just have the shrines mimic the world that they're kind of in.
Yeah.
But then he brought up, he's like, well, they're all the same technology. They're all built at the same time. It makes sense for them to all look the same aesthetically. And I still think that the shrines should stay. I love the shrines.
Now, think about it this way. Like, so Okay, so it's been 100 years since Link has fallen asleep, right?
Right.
I actually kind of agree with Altano.
Yeah, I do too.
Because, think of it this way, these shrines have been underground for 100 years, right?
Right.
So wouldn't you think that being underground that whole time, and there's even a shrine that's like in a mountain, right? In a snowy mountain.
Right.
I would think that if you open the door to that shrine and go inside, like, I don't expect it to be warm.
Right.
You almost expect for nature to have kind of taken control a little bit.
Right. That would be a nice little touch.
Right. So
Yeah.
like the three or four that are in the forest, have like weeds and vines growing inside, and
Right. Maybe some
add a
critters
climbing
that aren't
challenge.
really enemies, but something you might have to like get past.
Right. Add a little bit of a climbing challenge inside.
Yeah.
The ones that were around the volcano, there's like lava dripping inside and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, and it's
I
like
feel
burned a bridge or something.
Right. I feel like stuff like that would have been a nice extra little cosmetic touch.
Even if it was just aesthetics.
Right.
Right. You wouldn't have had to like theme it necessarily, just
Sure.
like some aesthetics. Now, I like the shrines, of course. Their point, of course, is to reward you with the spirit orb and give you a waypoint to fast travel to, and that's a really nice little thing. That's what makes me want to go get them. But like we were talking about earlier, it's like having traditional dungeons where you like get an item that you use to beat a boss. I'm not really wanting to do that again because that just became too, like you said, tropey.
Yeah, it really was.
But like, when you're talking about earlier, like have like that monster that's terrorizing the village that's in the mountain, and he comes out and he like eats a child every night or
Right.
something, and let it go on if you want to. But if you want to take a break from trying to kill Ganon and go like, hey, I can probably handle this guy for you. And maybe even have something in there that's like a bounty system, to
Yeah.
where you could go like, you talk to him and he go, hey, we're willing to put like 1,000 rupees in a pot to like, if you can go pull this off, if you
Right.
kill that thing and show us the head,
Sure.
he gives you a reward or whatever.
cool.
So that would be kind of neat, and that's kind of the way.
Or maybe-
and that's more from Witcher, which is also an open world game, and it's also very good, but it's got a lot of that kind of stuff in it too, where you've got this main mission, but you can go off on the side and go, well, I'll take care of that griffin that's like, killing off all
Swooping down,
picking up sheep, and the guy goes, well, how much are you looking for? And you actually can sit there and bargain with them through dialogue.
Now, so that that's a thing in a previous quote-unquote Zelda game, right?
CDI? No, I'm
No,
just
no,
kidding.
no. What are you talking about? What is that?
What is that? That never happened.
No, this is did you ever play, because I think you had to emulate it. It never came to America. Freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. I know you're laughing at me.
No, I haven't.
Sit tight.
Yeah.
Because I might change your mind. Right?
Yeah.
So in this game, you play as Tingle. Mm-hmm. Everything is kind of jokey and funny. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of over-the-top stuff. Like, the game's actually pretty amusing.
Yeah.
But the point in that game is you actually had to barter for everything. Mm-hmm. Like, so Tingle doesn't fight. But what you do is you hire bodyguards to fight for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could talk to one bodyguard and he'd be like, okay, how much do you want to pay me to do this? Mm-hmm. And it literally just like leaves an open blank and you fill in how much you want to pay him.
Yeah.
And so if you underbid, he's like, no, I don't think so.
Forget that.
Right. And then if you overbid, he's like, sure, yeah, absolutely, whatever. Where are we going? You know?
Yeah.
So, but I'm not good at bargaining.
Yeah.
Like, at all. So when I was playing that game, I was always like, well, how's like 800 rupees? And he's like, yeah, that's fantastic. Damn it. Gave too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a thing in that game, and I never finished it. But it would have been kind of cool for that to have been present a little bit.
Yeah, just here and there.
Yeah.
Not like beat you with
All
it.
the time, yeah.
Yeah, but like
Which
here
that
and there.
game did.
Yeah, here and there would be cool. Maybe even like limited to just the official shops or something. Or,
Right. And one thing that I have thought of as far as like the dungeons and everything from traditional Zeldas to now that I haven't heard anybody say yet is that the way I view the shrines personally is I view each shrine as a single room in a dungeon. Mm-hmm. because every traditional dungeon
Right.
had some sort of puzzle or something you did, or like, God forbid, you put on these awfully slow magnetic boots and
Yeah.
walked across the ceiling for 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But the shrines now I think serve as those puzzle elements that are sort of missing from the actual like dungeon temple things. You've beat all
Right.
4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saying shrines? You mean divine beasts?
Yeah, the divine beast.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Which like, I don't, I'm not entirely sure if I love them or not.
What I would have done differently if I had to do anything differently.
You don't have to whisper.
Oh, I just didn't want to yell.
What?
I don't want Zelda to hear me. It's
Right.
on the screen.
She might give her
Yeah.
awful voice acting.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. But is the divine beast? I think should have been still. Like, I like the fact that there's these drivers, and as you unlock the beast, that you get their power and they're able to move on. I liked all that, and they could have, like, I'm not saying like that I know the answer how to do it, but you can do it.
Right.
To where you go into the dungeon, right?
Uh-huh.
And instead of it being this huge mechanical thing, that would be the boss. You
Like
have to go defeat it.
The beast itself.
The beast itself. You have to go through, get to it, defeat that beast itself, and maybe you grab an item early on, or maybe it's like a power on your Sheikah Slate to where you can, take that malice off of it,
Right.
and make it to where now that is on your side.
To be fair, that's what happened.
Well, yeah, but like I'm talking like go into more of a traditional dungeon, only limit it to 4, and that be the boss at the end, not the Fire Blight or the.
So what do you mean by that? Like, what would the final boss look like for, like, I don't know.
I mean, like the elephant.
Right.
I would say you'd probably have to change it from elephant and camel and all that. Like, it would have to be like something like the what is it, the Goma or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like you fight the Goma or whatever that you would in Ocarina, and then that would be.
So if it was in this game, there'd be like a smaller elephant inside.
It'd be like so no, like you
I'm
would
just trying to figure out what you mean.
like you would fight Goma, right?
Okay.
A mechanical Goma,
Oh, I see.
and then that would
But
then.
a smaller version of it.
I mean, yeah, you could do a smaller version, but I mean, all it is you just got to climb to a high point and shoot a laser. I mean, it doesn't
okay.
have to necessarily be a certain size.
Right, I got you.
But yeah, so you would beat it, and then out would pop your Sheikah Slate, and you would convert it, and
Yeah.
then that spirit would say, "Thank you. Here's my power," and then you would see Goma climb up the side of the mountain and focus its laser and do its kind of thing.
I got you.
So I mean, that's a way that they could bring back a traditional dungeon,
Right.
I guess. There wouldn't be like an item or anything like that, but it would
Yeah.
still be like a lot of puzzles and stuff to like, you'd have to really figure out how to get to it
Right.
to beat it. I think that the Divine Beast
So
thing,
what you're saying is more like you enter a dungeon first, and then
Right.
once you come out the backside of the dungeon, that's where the
that
beast
beast
is.
is to like take down.
Sure.
Now you got to fight it.
Right. But that does remove the overworld openness of it, though.
Yeah. You would
'Cause you
have
could have
to.
just gone around it. And,
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, as long as saying, I don't really know the answer,
Sure.
but it's
Yeah.
it.
well, maybe if each beast was like shackled,
Yeah, you could
and then like
shackled
you
in a
had to
room.
undo the shackles in the dungeon.
That could be like, okay, so they protected them. The story goes, they protected them, and Ganon took them over, and then the people that were piloting them sacrificed themselves to, with all their strength that they had left, managed to get all 4 shackled in this chamber
Right.
or whatever.
which
That you would have to go into to get
Yeah.
to them.
Which, when you started talking about the heroes and that were the pilots of these, I thought you were going to talk about the fact that like leading up to each one, you had like a present time person or character that helped you get into these dungeons,
Right.
like Prince Sidon or the little Goron,
Yeah,
the
the little
Queen
Goron
Gerudo, and
Yeah.
that one Rito bird, right?
Yeah.
Each one helped you get into the dungeon. But then, like, once you're done with the dungeon, they're like, all right, I'm going to go back and do my thing.
They all leave you, right? Yeah.
It's a little,
It's
for
odd.
me, it was a little odd.
It's odd, yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like having them take over would have been a little too
Easy.
tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
would have been too easy of a write-in.
Yeah.
But again, like they didn't do anything with them afterwards.
Yeah.
Like you go to the Rito town, and he's just like sitting there. He's like, so we
hey.
did the deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's weird. I wasn't crazy about the like when you go into the Beast, you have to like go get the map and do these terminals and stuff. I felt like that was a little bit like forced. Like I just couldn't see these people, these ancient people years ago going, you know what we need to do? All these beasts need terminals. Like it just was kind of unbelievable to me.
Right, a little
like
bit,
it was a little bit too far fetched.
Yeah, it broke the believability of the
Yeah,
game.
It did. And that's why like going back to like not necessarily a traditional dungeon, but a dungeon feel to get to them, like we said, shackled in a room or whatever, that you would have to go and then fight.
Right.
You know, however you wanted to. You could still leave all that open.
So, to sort of like start wrapping up a little bit, what is the best thing about Breath of the Wild?
Oh God, it's got to be like the ability to jump off that plateau the first time and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got. I mean, they set that as a goal, and they just nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, and
so exploration.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, it feels like this, and it is. It's a huge, huge world, and there are no walls in it. You know, there's no item wall. You don't need to like go get this thing first to go up to Death Mountain. You can just jump off and start heading that way if you want to.
Right.
It's just so nice.
So, what would be the worst thing about the game?
That's really hard. There's so many. Just kidding. The worst thing about the game is, I think you kind of hit on it. You know, it's the best and the worst. You can go straight to Ganon and beat him. But I'm personally taking the approach of, I might even say that I might go find every Korok seed before I want to fight Ganon. Because like
Which, by the way, for listeners, there are 900 tiny little puzzles, which just include like jumping in a river, or throwing a rock, or setting a rock down in a pattern of other rocks, or lifting a metal ball into something else. Like there's 900 of these tiny challenges.
Yep.
Lifting up a rock. All you gotta do is pick it up.
Pick it up. Shoot balloons with arrows.
Right. There's 900 of these to get little seeds from these things, and when you're done, they literally give you a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, but you use them to upgrade your inventory slots, and I do think that once you defeat Ganon, and really what it was to me that made me decide to wait was the fact that when you beat him, your save returns to before you beat him.
Right, you don't play in a world that
doesn't have Ganon.
Because it would have been nice to like explore Hyrule Castle at my own leisure.
And I think that was, if I had to say something bad again, I think that might have been a missed opportunity for them to say, okay, you know, your reward now for beating Ganon is this world that continues on, and you might even see like towns pop up that weren't there, or like life return to some places, and that could even be like another opportunity for DLC.
You know what I think would have been kind of cool is once you beat Ganon, let's say Ganon is somehow tied to that Blood Moon, and once you beat Ganon, you load up the game, and now you're in a world without Ganon, but now you don't have a Blood Moon either. So you could actually take it upon yourself to beat every single enemy in the game.
Purge the world of all the monsters.
That would have been cool.
And it'd have been so easy. I mean, it's a line of code that says, if Ganon's beat, no Blood Moon.
I just made somebody mad out there.
Yeah, you did.
Right?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, that is a really good idea. But yeah, that way that would be another 100, 200 plus hour challenge of, I'm going to go to every single square inch of this place and kill every monster.
Right.
And then after that, something could happen. You know, I mean, who knows? They could have made this a 2,000 hour game.
Right.
With just that little bit of,
that would be cool.
That little bit of an idea.
Maybe like once you beat Ganon, maybe it even like opens up an alternate save file.
Yeah.
So like it copies it.
Yeah.
So then you have one save file that reverts back to before
Ganon. That
and
would
then
be
you have
nice
another
to do,
one that goes to where you can defeat all the enemies.
Or work in like a we're getting really in a wormhole here, but like work in like a Temple of Time thing, like before and after Ganon kind of thing.
Kind of cool.
Where you can go to the Temple of Time and
Maybe
go,
put the Master Sword on the pedestal in the castle.
right,
And then
then it's after Ganon. Take it out. It's before Ganon.
Yeah.
So then you have to
Kinda
go beat
cool.
all the monsters with no Master Sword.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Put a limitation on it.
Yeah.
One thing that you want to see in the future as far as Zelda.
More of it. Like, I'm really excited about the DLC. I know when it came out, a lot of people were really just hating on it so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Nintendo. They're going to, like, this is going to be right. And it is right.
Right.
You know, after playing however many 900 hours or whatever I'm at now, the not really that many.
100 or something.
I think it's like 120-ish probably.
Right.
But after playing it, you know, all I can say is that this is a 100% complete game through and through. And
Sure.
the Bill from Nintendo, he came on a podcast with someone, and I think it was NBC.
Yeah, it was.
And who else would it be?
Right.
But he said that, you know, it's a DLC, but like it's not done. Like, they're working on it right now. Like, this isn't something that they like withheld to charge you later. It's,
right.
They're still actively working on it.
It's definitely worth the money.
It's definitely worth the money, and I think that, you know, it goes back to that Mario Kart thing. Like, all I want's more tracks.
Right.
Okay, get $20 every 6 months, and I get like another
Completely
little
new
story and some side quests, and
I would almost pay
You know.
$20 to be able to defeat every enemy in the game.
yeah, like, I mean, I would like subscribe to this if it was something that they would even do that way. I don't know. I mean, it's a different Zelda game, and I want more of it. I mean, even as huge as it is, it's starting to feel small
Right.
because like you just spend so many hours in it.
Right.
So
And at this point, like, I nearly have not seen 100% of the map.
no.
Right.
There's
Like, not even a little bit.
No.
But
I'm still like activating title cards of places that I go.
right.
Yeah.
But I can still see like pictures people post online. I'm like, oh, I know where that is.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah. You can kind of tell where they're at.
Right. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
This was our first episode of Blessed Are the Geek podcast. If you like this, if you want to be on the podcast, just send us an email or just tweet us at Blessed Geekcast is what we are. It's been a while since I set it up, so I forgot what it was.
At Blessed Geek Cast.
Yeah, at Blessed Geekcast.
Okay.
So we will see you guys next time. Tweet us to be on the cast.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yep.